What up, dude? Never mind my cat screaming in the background. He's just an old man, and he does that sometimes. Um, so I reached a point where I realized that if I want an interface, then I might as well pause my weapon development stuff until I have a working interface or inventory. And so that's what I've been working on. Um, I'm not sure if this is going to compile, but I can kind of show. Yeah, so we got like a little grid inventory over here. I just haven't done. We're working on getting the like actual weapons to show up in it now. Okay, refresh. This is inventory grid. Item widgets over here. Refresh. Let's just
Private
see how he does it.
category as well with the tile size. And then we also want to add one for the size. So we'll add another variable and we will call it size. And this one we want to make it a vector 2D. And we will add this.
Hang on. Item widget. Tile size dimensions.
This mom's breakthrough, feeling like a kid again, was made possible by another breakthrough, a procedure that detects coronary microvascular disease that's often misdiagnosed in women. That's the pioneering research of Yale School of Medicine, delivered through Yale New Haven Health's Heart and Vascular Center. Together, we're powering breakthroughs with the greatest of care.
I think we do it like this.
They're nosing around. We're out of trouble.
But basically, so we were doing like, where's my paint? Give me my paint. We were already doing two versions of a rifle. One for pickups when it's like out in the world, or just like a pistol or something. So we had pickup, and then we had a character component that like actually attaches to our character model, right? And we were already building a system that had both of these things. And it seemed kind of asinine to not just go the rest of the way, because there's one more thing that this thing needs to make, and that's like a little inventory widget for the weapon that it can spit out, and then a system to keep an inventory of these things, right? So since we had these two being generated already, it just kind of made sense at this point to go start doing UI stuff for the inventory, I think. So I think if I'm right, then we should be pretty close to getting like an item to show up in the inventory. And then it's kind of like merging the system in with the other system for a final thing. All right.
To the private category as well, except for this one, we just need it to be private because we're actually going to be setting this one inside of the refresh function. Okay, so essentially what we need to do here is we need to figure out what size we want this thing to be, and we need to set it to that size. So we can get the item object, and we can say get dimensions, and then we can split this guy up. And
We already
so the
did all
size
this.
is
I knew
going to
this was
be
coming,
the
so
like dimensions of the object times the tile size. Our size now we can say the x and the y, like so. And so now we know what size we want it to be, so we can take our size box, so drag in our background size box, and we will say set width override, or what, set width, yeah, set width override.
Say nice job or congratulations. You need more fun in your life. We can always hope. Mother made for my friend, and we'll need 2 rooms for the night. Outside, it's I'm sorry, I can't help you. Look, we just had this discussion with our tattooed friends. The mead and the rooms. This is not the way to attract a convention crowd. Centaur's promisor. Stop him before he kills you. Venon's a monster. Venon's our house has killed his own family. Now hold on, you don't know me. You don't know Centaurs. If I know them better, I was raised and tutored by one. The only way to protect ourselves is to track him down, kill him.
all right.
Let him decide. Wise choices. We have a great problem. Centaur Jerick is not there. Stop man. Kill Kratos and then talk for
And so for the width, we obviously want it to be our size x.
I knew,
So
right?
drag in size again, say get, split it,
We made some.
that's our x.
We made some
And
nice,
then we want to do the
simple
same thing for
inventory
the height.
icons.
So copy paste, set height override. And that is going to be our y value.
I think
Add a
it'd
little
probably
reroute
be
node
smart
here.
to just set up a
And
camera
then
at
finally,
like a
we want to
consistent
set the
location on the
size
weapon
of
object
the actual image. So let's drag in our
and a
item
render
image.
target, but I didn't go that
And
far.
we need to say slot as canvas slot so we can actually set the size of it. And then we will say set size.
Item image slot as canvas slot.
He deserves to die. Let a court decide. Give up and come back with us. Have my word.
I'm assuming he's just going to
Wrap that
reconnect
up,
the same
and
size
then we can
pins.
just directly pass in our size variable to this.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I did have an idea a while back that it would be fun to create a shooter, but that has like D&D damage systems, like dice roll based guns with different elements and stuff like that. And we could probably do that with the projectile system we have. So that might be something fun to do a little bit later. Set size. Okay.
So,
Now what about
and so
the
that is our
location?
refresh function for our item. Pretty straightforward. We're just saying the size of it. And then let's see if there's anything else we should do here. Oh yeah, one thing we should do inside of here before we move on is back on the designer tab, if you click on the item image, we want to bind the brush to be, well, we want to create a binding for it basically. So just go ahead and create a binding.
Oh my god. Are you gonna tell me that like I didn't have to do all this crap here? Yeah, I didn't. There was a built-in way to do it, which makes sense.
You're a friend. You're not really fond of Derek, are you?
Not really. Look, my mother's sick. I can't get hired as mom with a sick to work. That's the job of the 3 men.
Is that Derek's fault? He had a family to provide for too. Does he get the pay of 3 men?
Fine.
Stay away from outsiders. Stick to your own time.
It's under a brush, I think.
Who's coming in?
You think he knows more about Lila's death than he's living on? No question about it. Derek's friends?
Brush.
Falls trail leading to the swamp. Where you really went. Did we get the others? Sure they care about bringing Derek back. Probably spent the night there.
Well, we want to create a binding for it basically. So just go ahead and create a binding, and we will call this, where did it put it? Here it did. We will call it get icon image. And I'm going to go ahead and add this to a bindings category. Oops, sorry, you can't see. Bindings, and we will make it private and pure and const as well. And so what we want to do inside
I can do that. Thank you.
I think that's fine.
of here is we want to get the icon that's associated with whatever the item object is and make a brush from that and display that. So we will say item object, we'll say get icon. Oh, we didn't write that function. It's a really simple function. We'll just write it real quick. So back in the item object, we just need to add a function for getting the icon. So we'll just add a function here, say get icon, oops, get icon, and we'll add that to the, and hook up the icon, but rotate. But if it's return that. So basically what it's doing is it's the normal icon, and so we will return that. So basically what it's doing is it's either returning the rotated icon if the
We should need
item
this.
object is rotated. Otherwise, it's just returning the non-rotated icon. All right, and so now back here in our item widget, inside of get item icon, we can say, where were we? Where was I before? Hold on, let me go back to my other project. Here we go. Okay, so we can say get item, or get icon is what it's called. Get icon. And we want to take this and we want to make a brush from it because you can see this returns a slate brush. So we'll say make brush from material. And so the material is going to be our icon. And then the size is just going to be our size. So we'll drag in the size. We will split it and we will drag the X into the trunk, into the width, and the Y into the height, like so. And then we will return that as the return value. All right, and so now our items should show up correctly. So we need to go back and finish the refresh function for our.
Picture this, saving up to 10% when you bundle your home and auto insurance.
For our item widget, this guy, I think. So back here in our inventory grid widget, wait, where did we leave off? Oh yeah, refresh. Okay, so let me go back to it in my other project as well so I don't get lost. Right, okay, so if we refresh this node now, it should show us our other pins, which is good. So it takes in the tile size, which we already have. So we'll just pass in our tile size. And then it also
Ceridian, mental. Tell me what centaurs fear to fight. That'd be the hardest thing you ever did going into that brain house. It's never a choice. She's dead by the time I got to her. There's nothing I can do. Next to Mace and Nari. I know what you're going through. Revenge isn't the answer.
Yes. Chasing it. It's sweet.
At what cost?
I'm not afraid to die.
And who teaches your son? Ripley. What does she know of life as a centaur?
Maybe I shouldn't have stood up to him. We should have just moved on.
Can't blame yourself for standing up for your rights.
Can't I? Lana would still be alive.
Did the right thing. Sometimes the price for living is very high. The world is a less than privileged place. Giving up on it now. Is that what Lila would have wanted? Is that what she loved you?
What do you want me to do?
Go back. To himself.
And I'm already going unpunished. How can I do that?
it takes in the item object, which we have from the loop. So we'll pass that in like so. And it just kind of makes this a little bit nicer. So now it's creating the actual widget for the item. And then the next thing we want to do is we need to bind, or we need to be notified whenever the inventory changes, so that way we can
He's very cute, by the way.
call this function again, so that we can refresh the inventory, if that makes sense. So what we want to do here is back in our item widget object. Wait a minute. Yeah, back in our item widget, we want to add an event dispatcher. Sorry if I'm stumbling through this. It's so confusing. It really is. Okay, so over here in the event dispatcher, we want to add a on removed. And so what this is going to be is it's basically an event dispatcher which gets dispatched whenever an item is removed from the inventory. So let's see. So actually, let's just add this for now, because this is going to get hooked up later when we do the drag and dropping. So just add it for right now, and then I guess we'll add the input parameter to it. So add an input parameter, because we can't really make use of this yet because we haven't done the drag and dropping, but we need it so that we can bind to it.
Okay.
We'll add a new parameter here, and we will call it, or it will be of type BP item object, and we want to make it item object like so. And so now back here in the inventory grid widget, we want to drag off this and say bind event to on removed, and then off of this.
But I know you have a lot of stuff.
You have proof of that.
Confess to me.
And now he's dead.
It was an accident. He tried to run away from me and he fell down a ravine.
I'll have to hold you in custody until it can be proven one way or the other.
You mean in jail?
I don't let the laws, the Athenians do that. I merely uphold them. Stay. It'll be all right. I'll be back.
Wait a second. Okay. We don't need this.
You know, you should make it some medicine. Hi, you're back. Always be okay. Always.
For please. Your Uncle Salmonius isn't as young as he used to be. He'd really like to. Somebody?
Yeah, so we didn't need that.
Your mommy is a brainy.
Looks good. All right.
Oh. My mistake. I'm sorry.
So we just want to say create event.
Holding him in jail.
And then if you hit this little drop down, you can actually say create a matching function for me. So we'll just select this guy.
This is Bob.
And then let's see, where did that create it? Over here, inventory grid widget, autogen.
But I'm not sure. It's inside. There, what's going on? This came from the magistrate. He said you confessed. That you admitted killing Cletus in cold blood. I did. What? We both know it's not true. I had no choice. They'll hang you now. You know that. I had no choice. What is it? The Sun story. They've kidnapped him. They said if I didn't confess, he'll.
Then eventually we'll switch inventory item from a blueprint to a blueprint interface and go implement it on our other object, I think is what I'm going to end up doing. Okay, so
They didn't seem concerned about hiding him, though. They just want to make sure that Derek got his kid's toy. Swine! Lucky you didn't outnumber me. I would have wiped the wood with him, huh? Yeah, I'm sure you would have.
Someone wants to talk to you.
Who?
He's afraid to be seen. Come to my house.
You have something to tell me? I was there the night Lella died. What happened?
There was 5 of us. We were just gonna scare them, you know. Centaurs and fire.
Go on.
Things got out of hand. The Lila knocked the torch out of someone's hand.
Yeah, this one. So we want to rename this to on
You know that? No.
item removed.
The woods. But I didn't know she was dead.
You might as well bet. Place is on fire.
Someone was coming. I thought that they could rescue.
Afraid. Your pals or the fire?
Both. It's the worst thing I've ever done.
At least you found the courage to come forward. Where did they keep him?
Show you.
Don't just tell me. You need to talk with Derek.
To Derek. But why?
I think.
And then why can't I find this in my other project? Oh, there it is. Okay, so we want to take this guy and we want to drag it into the private category,
later, dude.
and we want to make it private. And so essentially all we want to do here is we want to remove the item from our inventory component. So let's drag in our inventory component, and we need to make a little function here. I'm just going to create the function, not actually write it, because we'll do that later once we get to removing. So back here in the inventory component, we just want to add a function and call it remove from, or remove item. And obviously this needs to be public. And we just want it to take in an item object.
Regards for one little kid.
Do this.
To clear your conscience, you're gonna have to do this.
There may not be enough time.
Let's kill him.
So add a new parameter. We need to change this back to be just a normal parameter, and we will call this the item object. And again, we'll fill this out later. For right now, we just want to have it created so we can call it. And so back here in our inventory grid widget, we just want to call remove item, like so, and then pass in this guy. Okay, and so now back here, oops, let me capitalize this hour.
The Centaur's wife did not die by accident.
Let's see in. Item removed.
Okay, so now back here, where were we in the event graph? No, we were inside of refresh.
When you go rogue, you go all in on flavor.
So inside of refresh, sorry, I'm going back and forth with my other monitor too. So after we bind to it, we want to then add the child. So the widget we just created, we want to add that to our canvas panel. So we'll
Yes, but how many of you can say you've been here for 2 or 3 or even 4 generations? I seem to be in the minority. Maybe we should start with you. Don't listen to him! What are you waiting for? Get up! Come on!
say grid canvas panel, add child, and the child we want to add is our widget that we just created. So we can just drag this guy around, something like this. And then
You're that little inventor. Maybe he's a bit around your gun. People do that without getting headaches.
legacy you can pass on to keep.
And the next thing we want to do is we want to set we want to set this widget to be or so that it auto sizes itself. So we'll say cast to canvas panel slot. And actually, let's just make this a pure cast since we know it's going to succeed. And we will say set auto size to true. And we
You did the right thing.
Didn't kill your wife, but I wasn't one of those responsible. I was wrong. Sorry.
Sorry won't bring Lana back. Neither will holding on your end. He's not on our side anymore. He fought against them.
we will also set the position of it. So I'm just going to make a little reroute node here and drag off of this and say set position because
Mom's breakthrough, feeling like a kid again, was made possible by another breakthrough, a procedure that detects coronary microvascular disease that's often misdiagnosed in women. That's the pioneering research of Yale School of Medicine, delivered through Yale New Haven Health's Heart and Vascular Center. Together, we're powering breakthroughs with the greatest of care.
we need to adjust where the top left corner of this thing is.
You're up early. Did you wake up?
And so the position, we just need to do a little bit of math. So basically, if you remember from our get all items, it returns to us the item object and it returns the top left tile. So we want to use this top left tile. So let me just drag this over. So we're going to drag this guy all the way over here. And then we will just say break tile. And then I'm just going to add a reroute node just so it's not cutting through everything else. Something like that. Okay, so this is the top left tile of where we want to add this. So in order to get the actual location, we just need to multiply it by the tile size. So we'll say float times tile size. And likewise, we want to do the same thing for the y. So we'll say float times the tile size.
I'm here. I'm real. Your father, Zeus.
Can under the evil man, it's the malice of the gods he has trouble with.
He told me about your family. I'm sorry he couldn't bring them back.
And then we can split this guy and pass in the x.
But know that they're always with me. In my heart. The only thing that could be better than that is what you have here. Cherish it, my friend.
Okay. Okay, no luck so far.
And the y. And then I believe we are done. So now that we have the refresh function written, if we come back to our initialize, we want to call it here when it's initialized. So drag in the refresh function like so. And then finally, the last thing we want to do here, or maybe we can run this. It might actually work now if we run this. So let's see. So if we run this and we press I and we go to the gun. Okay, so it picked it up, but it didn't actually draw it. Let's see why it didn't actually draw it. Let me just put a breakpoint here real quick and try to figure that out. So it's calling refresh. Oh wait, because, oh right, obviously I know why. Okay, so the reason it's not doing it is because, well, we need to call this refresh function whenever we pick up a new gun, or whenever we pick up anything, we need to call this function so that it refreshes the inventory. And right now we're only calling this function when it initializes. And the reason we're doing it in the initialization is just in case you start the game with something in your inventory, we obviously want to refresh it so that it starts out as the right thing. But we also need to call this refresh function whenever the inventory changes.
Explain everything. I bet you do. If all like Marquez, they heard you're working in this. I didn't know what it was. Harmonious. I'm always straight. Now listen to me, please. It's my brother-in-law's place. He said it was a high-class nightclub. This is a guy who lies just to keep him practice 5 a week. Until that road comes back happens, I'm stuck here. Once he does, I'm out of here like my pants will on fire. Why did you come in the first place? So you know this town's reputation. I couldn't let it drag me down. I needed a test insight or something that helped make the world a better place. What is it this time?
And so to do that, inside the inventory component, we're basically going to make an event dispatcher that gets triggered whenever the inventory changes, which we've kind of already touched on that before with that dirty flag. And then we're just going to bind to it here. So back in the inventory component, again, let me open it up on my other monitor. So we're going to make an event dispatcher, and we want to just call it on inventory changed. And then back here,
This is the story of a time long ago, a time of myth and legend, when the ancient gods were petty and cruel, and they plagued mankind with suffering. Only one man dared to challenge their power, Hercules. Hercules possessed a strength the world needs, a strength surpassed only by the power of his arm. He dreamed battling the
here in the event tick, what we want to do is we want to check if this dirty flag is set to true. If you remember this guy, if you look, it is being set inside of add item. So whenever we add a new item, it gets set to true. So this is essentially going to be true whenever the inventory has changed. So in the event tick, we just want to check if this flag is set, which of course most of the time it won't be set because most of the time your inventory won't change. But whenever you do pick up something, it will be set to true. And so
Yes, I am.
You fought with my brother Cleon in the Philippine campaign.
I remember Cleon.
when it has changed, we just want to set it to false.
Cleon didn't need any inspiration. He was a fine soul.
And then we want to dispatch our on image
Dwayne now like most of the other good men. He's in with us now, building boats.
inventory changed so that the UI can update. And the reason
Thirsty?
this time.
We're using event dispatcher is just so like obviously so we don't have to continuously redraw the inventory every frame even if nothing's changed, because obviously if nothing's changed there's no reason to waste processing power redrawing the whole inventory.
Did you see their faces?
Um,
He's right. I'm sure it was Piper's friend.
so yeah, so now we just need to bind to this event, which should be pretty simple. So if you go back here to our inventory grid, and then after
You are offering me all kindness. I'm going to show them months. I don't even know what to call you.
Hercules will be fine. It's just the name. I'll bet you've got one too.
Atticus. I work a farm in the Istrian Valley. Though it's been too long since I laid eyes on it.
Well, Atticus, the first step back there is getting you mended up. Come on.
the refresh, we can say inventory component, and we can say
He's right. Didn't anybody ever tell you that? You're the lady all over the dump. Now, why don't you just do what she asked you? I didn't mean any harm, okay? I was just trying to have a little fun. Get out of here. The older you see it as, all my men howling at the moon. You know, a woman as beautiful as you should have guards outside her door.
Well, the honor wouldn't pay for them.
Then I will.
Nope, nothing yet.
bind to on inventory changed. And then like we did before, we're just going to drag off this guy. And we are going to say create. Actually, we just want to, yeah, so we'll say create event. And then we can actually just select the refresh function from this dropdown. So we're basically saying whenever this gets called, call refresh. So now if we run this, let's see if this works. Hopefully it will. So open the inventory, pick up a gun, and there you go. It shows our
With these hands, I could cure the infirm, the lame, the blind. Sorry? That is not lame or blind, and maybe you can help him.
Worse than most things did.
See? Look, Atticus, as long as you're in such a forgiving mood, maybe you wouldn't mind staying here until I get back.
I'm glad to. No, the place is nice.
My brother-in-law's. But I got a deal on the furniture. Yeah. Where are you going, if you don't mind my asking? To see Pilot. Atticus, what did your mind pops look like?
Nothing fancy. Did have the letter A on it, didn't they?
I'm just curious. Salmonius, or should I say Dr. Salmonius, keep an eye on our patient. All right, just hold still. I'm getting good at it.
Another man has got to use it right. In two places at once. 3, 4. The possibilities endless.
Look, huh?
Just found it.
You made it sound. I thought you weren't sociable. Maybe you're just too embarrassed about how many poor people you've robbed.
You see why I like to be careful about what I come off as a treat? Teach them some manners.
Hey, come on. Thank you very much. Great, I was going to have to ask you for this. And then you'd say you didn't have it, and well, you know how that goes. I'll let you know when it's all right. Yeah.
Damn it.
Now, what was I? Oh, yeah. Morning, I found the owner of his money pouch. There were thieves jumping last night, left him for dead in the town square. I'm here to tell you that stops right now.
You think this gives you the right to order me around? Who are you anyway?
Hercules.
Hercules. Well, suddenly my life looks a lot more interesting.
Unpleasant might be more like it.
You know, it would be a lot easier on both of us if you went someplace that was a little tamer.
There's something you better understand, pilot. I'm not going anywhere. Oh, you can get up. Can deliver. This Thanksgiving, Nick and Lily help contestants clear items off their Amazon wish list and fulfill dreams.
Amazing boys at home. I'm a single dad ring, like lots of ring. A diamond ring. Baby, will you make me the happiest man in the world?
Wish list game. Winning Wednesday. Just like Mother used to make, huh? Yeah. Does remind me of home. Yeah. I always thought about selling a recipe. Not by itself, of course, but with others in a book. Like a cookbook. And the book might lead to a cooking school. Or maybe a chain of cooking schools. With big chef's hats, with Salmonius right across the top of it. Am I boring you?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. My mind just wandered. I'm here looking for you.
You and every other man in this town.
Oh, no. Very special woman.
We have many special women in Enola. There's one called Lucina. She's a special woman. With a smile that light up your heart.
My precious babies. This is all I have left of you.
Sleep. Just need word to all of them. There's 1,000 dinars waiting if they need it by tomorrow. Hercules is ripe for the killing.
I won't fail you, pilot.
You better not. You're hitting on my wall. Go.
Salmonius shake. Take the big shoulders. Come on, pick them up both hands. One hand here, one hand there, and shake them really fast like this. Come on, get your shoulders into it. Really fast. If you really shake them, get them fully.
Look at him. He just got over him. He's a friend of yours, somebody's?
But I'm his best friend. I used to be his biographer. It's a long story.
He must be full of hot air after all. Hey, would you relax for us? Oh, just once, please.
Sorry, ladies, I flax.
Oh, such a pity.
Excuse me. It's science. I'm creating a better world for chemistry. You're supposed to be taking care of Atticus. Don't get him, old sir. He's sleeping on the couch right over here. You can take a look for yourself, see?
Okay, let's see.
Yeah, man, for the Odyssey.
feel any better, but you can still have it back.
Thank you. Gone to too much trouble for me.
Well, you look like you could use a friend. You want to talk about what's bothering you?
All right then. Not around here though. Follow me. I used to tell everybody they didn't believe in luck. You know, look at me. I Rachel a beautiful girl like Lucina. I was just a poor farmer 20 years older than her.
Little thing like 20 years isn't enough to stop love. As long as love's there in the first place.
She gave me 2 fine sons, Hercules. That's how strong her love was.
Where are your boys now?
We did.
You have my sympathy. I know how painful it can be.
But it's not a story. Not the fireball Harris sent down at your rifle case.
I'm afraid it's true. But we're here to talk about you.
There was a fever in the history of the Valley last year. Killed people, animals. For a while, I didn't think anything was going to survive. But Lucina and I made it through. We had to. So there'd be somebody to bury the boys. Jason was only 3. Marcus wasn't even here.
Sorry.
All her life went out with Lucina after that. She kept saying it was her fault. I told her it wasn't in her hands. She wouldn't listen to me. But finally, she ran.
And you followed her here.
She's been other places. By the time I got to the mill, there wasn't anything left of her but stories.
You'd be better off talking to your wife before you leave it anywhere else.
I'm not sure I can do that by myself.
Grace.
Hercules. Trying to explain. Stupid.
You're gonna see how real mercenaries operate soon enough. We didn't join in as spectators. Oh, then I may find something to be suited for. Protection tariffs need to be collected on the local merchants. That shouldn't be too much of a challenge. We were supposed to rob the tax collector. Yeah, I was trying with guard these days. Before you go on against someone like that, I wanted to prove to me that Sweden from Team House that the shop you alarm would have one blood spill. We'll spill. It's cheap. Just do it.
Where he is?
Snake heart.
Here's the time, isn't he?
Yeah, you noticed.
I thought you were going to help me with Lucina.
I wanted to get you back here first. You're still not in any condition to be out running around.
Well, I'm here. What about Lucina?
I don't know how to tell you this, Atticus, but getting a husband and wife back together really isn't my department.
You're the only one I can turn to. You know you are. Pilot of this matter, no match for them.
I'll see what I can do.
You talk to Lucina?
I'll try.
And what you might be thinking, Hercules. She's as good a woman as ever walked this earth. She just forgot it, that's all.
Speaking of devil, really are something, aren't you? Sure what you mean. Listen to her, acting all sweet and innocent. I'm just trying to get by the best I can. Well, your husband is too. I don't know what you're talking about. Ask the guards. They'll tell you. Good thing pilot put them outside your door, or your loving husband would have caught you. Why are you saying this? Just think about what you're going to tell him when you come face to face. Better be good.
We sometimes find ourselves in disappointing situations.
I'm losing patience with you in bed.
But patience is a virtue. Yeah, but my brother will take care of the protection payments.
I'm talking to you.
Yes, what? They're talking to me. You must lie. I don't know what to say. Words come out, but they don't mean anything. Zilch. No. You know how true that is, General. Or can be a vegetarian?
I don't want to do anything for them. Anything.
Why don't you find another line of work? I knew you were going to say that. Where's Lucina? She said I rode out and back. Why? She doesn't belong here.
The nice guys never stick around long enough, do they, Hugh? True. Maybe he's right. Maybe we should find another line of work.
Could somebody get this list off me?
No, what happened to my TV? Oh, put on some Dragon Ball anyway. So I think I fucked something up. This is what it was. I think. Hey, look at that. Sick. And now, I broke it. What? What? Hmm. Um, we saw it work for 2 seconds, and then it evaporated.
After Bulma repaired Goku's radar, the two raced off in search of a third Dragon Ball. They found it at the bottom of the ocean. Determined to retrieve what he hoped would be his grandpa's four-star ball, Goku dived into the mysterious unknown with his lungs full of air and his heart filled with bravery. Unfortunately, not even Goku could hold his breath long enough to reach the ocean floor, although he gave it his best shot. In the end, Goku had to turn back. But he wasn't discouraged. He and Bulma simply switched to Plan B and headed to Roshi's Island in hopes that the old master would allow the explorers to borrow his submarine.
But I bet he asks me. Faster, Nimble! Sorry. I think we're almost there. I see it. We're here.
This is Scout 01 to Command Center. We have a situation. Repeat, we have a situation. We've located two down scout planes on a small island southwest of Base 7.
Both pilots are wounded. They were attacked by the boy. There is one other thing, sir. The pilots claim the boy wasn't traveling alone. Apparently, he was accompanied by a young woman.
This is General Blue. What exactly did the female look like?
That's all the information we were able to get before the pilot passed out.
I am talking to a dead man right now. If I don't get a full report from my desk in 2 hours, you understand me? This boy has laid waste to 2 of our best regiments, and I will not be the third. Maybe there's some skill, but there is one thing that I know for certain, and that is nothing lasts forever. Oh, Goku, this is certainly a surprise. Welcome back. It's good to see you again.
It's good to see you too, Turtle. I sure have missed everybody. It's been way too long.
Yeah, So are you here on business or pleasure?
I need Master Roshi's help.
Oh, hang on, I'll get him. Hey, Master! Goku's here!
So why am I only getting one now?
Been loads of fun.
What can I help you with?
We need help breathing. I better let Bulma tell you.
Bulma?
You both say they got added. They did not. One of these failed to add. Which is wrong for sure.
Why, certainly. What interest do you have in a submarine?
We found another Dragon Ball at the bottom of the ocean, but it's way too deep to swim to. I tried.
Is that right? Okay, I'll lend it to you.
Thank you. That was just a little too easy.
However, I'll need that device in exchange.
My Microman? And that's it? Nothing else? Phew, that's a relief. I was afraid you got the wrong impression.
Alright, let's figure out what is going wrong.
I'm going to miss the microban, but I know it's for a good cause. Here.
Oh, yes. Thank you, thank you.
Fine, now hand over the capsule for the submarine.
Patience, my dear girl, patience. Notch and Krillin took it into town this morning to do some shopping. They should be back any minute now, no biggie.
Ah. Aha. I think that fixes it. Maybe not.
No problem. She's cute. Is she your sister? Guess that the boy is working with someone.
Don't pay it to guess, now do I? Your second-rate speculations won't get me the Dragon Balls.
Tell me what we know! He knows where the Dragon Ball is, and yet he's spending a lot of time away from it. Probably gathering supplies. His radar is quite sophisticated. Not exactly something you'd find in a boy's toy box. He must be getting assistance from someone.
That could mean his headquarters is located somewhere in that vicinity.
Yes, sir.
Well, don't just stand there like a moron. Contact General Blue and have his scouts find the kid's hideout.
I understand. Yes. Yes.
Right, I'll get my men on it immediately. They'll be back soon. Don't worry. Turtle, what's taking them so long? I got a bad feeling.
Don't talk with food in your mouth. What kind of shop doesn't sell green onions? This is ridiculous. Come here. Something.
Can I get you something? Another glass of water, perhaps?
No thanks. I've had so many already that I'm beginning to feel waterlogged.
That's a shame. It's about time. Now go to the ladies' room so I can use this micro doodad. That's enough. Bucket's full. Great job. We'll eat well tonight.
Wait, got one more. Daddy.
Oh, my son.
All right, so let's re-look over this. This is stepping over.
Sure. It's the first door we live in, sweetie. Take your time. The longer the better. Boy, am I tired. I think I'll go lay down for a bit. Now let's see. I push these two buttons in there. Presto! Eureka! You lucky devil! This is worth 18 submarines! No!
This one, I heard something.
That's worse than life.
So if the tile is invalid, it can't fit. If the tile is if the tile has a item in the slot, it can't fit. If we get through all these checks successfully, the item can fit. And we need to do this for
It's about time they got that. I could have been faster than that.
Better have a lot of groceries. What a machine! This sub is fantastic! It's always nice to see you again, Boomer. Bulba! Bulba!
We've been waiting for you. Why are you so late?
Well, launch hit one of her episodes while we were at the market today.
Torture.
Yeah, I sneezed again. Sounds like you two had a big day. Hey, Goku, why are you here anyway?
This is Command Center calling Scout 45. Come in. What is your PLC status? Over. This is Scout 01. No sign of any base in this sector. However, there aren't too many islands in this region, so I anticipate positive location confirmation to be imminent. Roger that. Over.
Judging by this map, you're definitely gonna need a submarine.
so it works the first time. Second time it fails because triad item is failing.
Okay. Darn it.
And I think, yes, if it really is around here, you should be able to find the pirate's treasure easily with the submarine. Pirates? Treasure? Did you say treasure?
Say, Bulma, wouldn't you like a nice glass of iced tea?
I'm not thirsty, thanks. So go on, give us the scoop on this treasure. Master Roshi knows more than I do.
What's that?
You know, the story you always tell me, the legend of the missing pirate's treasure.
Oh, yeah, the pirate's treasure. Long ago, these waters were infested with pirates who pillaged and plundered everything in sight. Not the sort you'd invite them for fruit punch, I'll tell you that. Pirate ships were heavily populated and armed. Many royal vessels carrying treasures, jewels, and riches fell prey to their attacks. Legend has it, much of the stolen bounty ended up on the ocean floor and is still there today. Yes, sir. Whomever finds that treasure is going to be as rich as a king.
How romantic. We have to find this treasure. I mean, we just have to. Yeah, it sounds awesome, doesn't it? I'd love to go with you and help. Really? We could sure use another person. Can I go, mister, please? I know this map like the back of my hand.
I suppose, but finish your chores first.
Yes, sir. If we want to go under the water, then how come we're in an airplane? This baby does both. It's a submarine and an airplane. Wow. An airbase. The proper name is actually... Oh no, I left my rucksack Hercules with a Dragon Ball inside! It's okay, relax. Nothing's going to happen to it while it's at Master Roshi's house. You're right, I'm just being silly. What a relief.
Priority message for General Blue. This is Scout 01. I've spotted an unidentified flying object heading north-northwest. Would you like me to follow in pursuit? Over.
Negative. A backtrack is flight pattern. If it's the boy, his base can't be too far away. Over.
Copy that. I've got something. There's a house on a small island. Grid marking ESA 7024 Diner Point.
Over. Go to visual tracking infrared scan. Is anybody out there? Over. Affirmative.
I have visual confirmation. Repeat, I have visual confirmation of an old man, one woman, and a turtle. All are outside the house and appear to be unarmed. Awaiting further instructions. Over.
It sure is hot out here. Maybe you should take that shower now. Oh, Dragon. You man must be the scientist who designed the kid's radar.
Now that the Red Ribbon Army knows about Roshi's Island, what will become of Goku and his friends? Find out next time on another exciting episode of Dragon Ball. episode, Goku and Bulma set out to retrieve another Dragon Ball. This one, however, proves to be the most challenging yet, as it resided at the bottom of the ocean. Unfazed by this monumental obstacle, the pair paid a visit to Master Roshi in hopes they might borrow his submarine jet. Master Roshi agreed in exchange for Bulma's microband. Goku and Bulma received additional assistance from Krillin, who not only helped them map out their target, but decided to join them as well. Together, the three explorers face the mysterious unknown that awaits them far below.
According to the radar, we need to head south. About 30 miles. You got it.
Enter. Excuse me. Commander, General Blue has just sent in his latest field report regarding the island. Apparently, it is inhabited by an old man, a young woman, and a turtle.
Old man?
Scientist. Details are unknown.
You're probably right, sir. This quite possibly could be the same scientist who built the sophisticated radar for the boy.
What is the position of the Dragon Balls? No change, sir. 2 are somewhere on the island and 1 is in the ocean. Tell General Blue to invade the island immediately. Get me those Dragon Balls and the old man. I want him taken alive. Yes, sir. Checkmate. Oh.
Strange. This is Bulma's bag. She must have forgotten it. What are these?
Now is my chance. Yeah, that was close. This job takes stealth. Let's get down to business. Now I'll finally get what I deserve.
Right above it. Dive here. Gotcha.
You mean we're really going underneath the water with this thing?
Yeah, that's the plan.
Wow, neat. That's it. Find the ball so I can steal it from you. immediately. Now, how many times will it tempt you until you learn? It is very difficult to sneak up behind a general and keep your teeth. Sorry, General. Urgent message. Well, what is it? Sir, we've received official confirmation from headquarters regarding the boys' hideout. According to the radar reports, the boys' Dragon Balls are on that island as we thought. We've been ordered to steal the Dragon Balls and capture the old scientist for questioning. Everything is happening as I envisioned it. That boy stays outnumbered. Attention! Sir, divide the corps into 2 units. I will lead Company A's attack on the fort while you mobilize Company B and take the island. Aside from the old man, no prisoners. Is that understood? Yes, sir. Lieutenant, this army requires its soldiers to move. Use some weight. Yes, sir.
It was so beautiful.
Hmm.
Why does that big fish look so sad? What's its name? I don't know. Be quiet, I'm trying to think. Stop here, Krillin. The radar shows it should be right beneath us. Right. Where is it? All I see down there is a bunch of pretty fish. It's down there somewhere. The radar doesn't lie. Why don't you go look for it? Okay. Oh. No wonder that fish is so sad. All he can see is blue. That's my spy.
So it should see that it can do it right here. So we'll go down into this. See the item. It has 2 and 2 dimensions. Alright, so we're going into this. Next step, we're going into this.
This one must be called the ticklefish. Neat. What are you doing? Stop creeping off. Wow. How did your voice get in my helmet? Goku! Goku, what's going on? Did you find it? Hey guys, look at that! It's the biggest crab I've ever seen in my whole life. Will you quit playing around and find the Dragon Ball?
We stand at the crossroads.
This seems correct. I mean, we can promote some variables, I guess.
Look him out, and let his bones pave the way to your glory. Fail yourselves, but never fail me. Bring me the old man. For those who help him, no mercy.
see. You think maybe the Dragon Ball could have dropped down inside of it? Wait a minute. When we got the submarine jet down there, investigate. Good is right. This might be more difficult than I thought. I need to address the search grid to compensate for the depth differential. Yeah. Okay. You mean closer to the wall? Yes, closer to the wall, okay? Goku, I think you're gonna want to come see this. I'd like to, but I don't think I can fit. I think we need the machine you gave to Master Roshi, the one that makes you smaller. Wait a sec. What's up? Judging by the shape of the ditch, it looks like it leads to something. I'll switch radar magnification and see if I can't get a better view. There, see? It's a cave of some sort. Maybe we can get inside. It might lead to the Dragon Ball. We can go in there. Come back to the boat so we can check it out.
Start your engines.
That's so weird.
Attention all personnel. Secure stations and prepare to dive. I repeat, secure stations and prepare to dive.
All hatches secure. All systems are go. We're ready to dive.
Take us down.
So, what kind of opposition are we looking at once we reach the island, sir? Just a woman and an old man, so I hear. What in the world is taking her so long? Oh, he's here!
Hold your fire, Captain, but keep them locked in your sights. We'll just let them lead us to the prize.
Go straight ahead just a little farther. You should see the entrance just beyond this bridge. There it is. We found it. We're almost there.
where the Dragon Ball is hidden. Now build them out of the water! Aye, aye, sir. Torpedoes! Torpedoes away! Sir, we missed. No excuses. Fire another round immediately.
What's going on? Oh no! Look! There's another submarine behind us! They fired at us! I don't think they're too friendly.
There's only one group big enough to do this. The Army.
Army? You don't mean the Red Ribbon Army?
That's them. I know the Red Ribbon Army has been looking for the Dragon Balls just as hard as I have. But they're much more dangerous and mean about it.
Hey, I'd say try the bullets in a fish food boy besides that guy. Why didn't you tell me we were expecting company? I never would have signed up for this crazy mission.
Fire away!
They're firing on us again. Okay, it's the time to move.
You missed them! Soldier, execute this move! I grow tired of here, sir!
At this point, I'm willing to try anything. This is serious. Why didn't you tell us these guys were after you?
No one ever asked me about the Red Ribbon Army.
Maybe you left the gate is getting narrow. They found us in here.
Those simple fools think they found a safe haven. Prepare the escape pods! We're going after them! Idiots! They're playing right into my hands!
Our heroes are well on their way to discovering the secret lying deep within this mysterious cave. All they have to do is survive long enough to reach it. Don't miss the next incredible episode of Dragon Ball. Their presence felt as they turned up the heat on Goku, Bulma, and Krillin. General Blue led the attack, which included sending troops to Roshi's Island to kidnap the Master and steal the 2 Dragon Balls in his possession. Goku and his friends found safety in a cave too narrow for the large submarine to follow. However, the resourceful general was prepared and continued to catch some smaller vessels. Hurry up, guys, and whatever you do, don't fast.
That they have torpedoes? What are torpedoes? Haven't you been paying attention? They're bombs. They blow things up. Oh, okay. So that's a torpedo. It must be nice to live in complete oblivion, which is about what we're gonna be. I'm trying.
I've got the remains, sir. Shall we launch the torpedoes?
Risk a cave-in. Besides, you don't need to use a torpedo to destroy a fly. Here's an easier solution. Ram them into the cave wall.
General Blue's Company A is in pursuit of the little boy and the 3rd Dragon Ball. Captain Doc is supervising the raid on the island by Company B. Our radar has a confirmed lock on 2 Dragon Balls located within the scientist's compound. As you know, the old man is accompanied by a woman and a turtle, which are believed to be his only protection.
Yes. General Blue's a brilliant tactician. I'm supposedly surrounded by the best minds of every conceivable industry, yet I'm still chasing that child for what should have been in my possession months ago.
I understand, sir.
You understand nothing, but make sure General Blue does. I want that scientist program to be alive at all costs. He's the key to our success.
Consider it done, sir.
Alright, so we can add stuff to the inventory now. We can't remove it. We can add stuff. We can't drag it yet. But I got a feeling that's coming soon. I already have kind of an idea how that would work even. I think it's a good stopping point. Sleepy. So yeah, later.